Hey, hi, hello, witches. Welcome back to No Way. Tell me everything. My name is Jess. I am your host today. We're doing something a little bit new. If you want to watch me ice a penis cake, go to the YouTube. If you just want to listen to me while I probably curse a lot and mess crap up and talk about it, you can stay where you are. But welcome back. Guys, I have not filmed a solo episode in I think maybe close to a month. I've been taking a little breaksy. I've been told to take a breaksy. I took a breaksy, but today I'm doing something different and I'm going to talk about what's been going on. And we're going to talk about a very important topic that's coming up a lot for me right now. And I'm seeing a lot of people talk about it. Must mean it wants to be released. Let's talk about the divine sacredness of feminine rage, feminine anger. Nothing I love more than an angry woman who's standing in her power. We're going to talk about it. But first, let's ramble. So, hi, I missed you all. How are you doing? If you don't know, and you do follow me on social, Jess Solstice is now going to be primarily for only for the podcast promotion and like random life stuff where, I'll show and talk about stuff that I've been going through. But I actually have another account now called Embodied Witchcraft on Instagram. On TikTok, you're going to get both combined. So happy days for you, I guess. But if you want to follow just the witchcraft side of things, which is the astrological updates, full moon updates, rituals, this kind of stuff, like I'll put the cake recipe on there at some point. Probably not that it has to be a penis, and I'll tell you why it's a penis. I promise it makes sense, kind of, maybe just to me. Um, and then like random somatic tips through healing through witchcraft, because that's been, I realized basically that I was trying to straddle both areas. I was trying to be a somatic coach in like the grounded normie space. And I was also trying to do the spiritual side of things. And I've been experimenting with both with my clients. And what I kind of found out is that I am not able to give the best of myself in just the somatic, grounded, practical. And I also don't enjoy it as much. That's not where I add my value. If you want to just do grounded somatic work, there's so many coaches out there that would be so happy to work with you. But for me personally, I find that I feel most fulfilled and like I'm filling my purpose more when it is more of this witchy spiritual side. So that's why I created that. Let me just take a pause to make sure that my cake fits into the box that I want to fit it in, because it's not going to be good if I can't actually transport it where I need to. I don't know if I can talk while I do this. Oh, it's a heavy one. It's a heavy cake. Let me tell you why I'm making this cake. Okay, so my former boss, who's a lovely lady, actually right around the time that I left the company, she unfortunately found out that she had a very aggressive form of cancer. Yay, it fits. Ladies, who hasn't said that with a penis? Right. Look, yay, it fits. Okay, let me stick to the story for a second. She found out she has a very aggressive form of cancer. So she spent her summer trapped here in Copenhagen, not able to travel, doing an extremely aggressive chemo plan that really put her through the ringer. Not that it's ever easy, but this was like extra, extra hard. So she just let me know that, yay, fortunately, all of the cancer is gone. I hope she doesn't mind me sharing this. I didn't share her name, but um, they can't find anything else. So that's so great. And I know how hard she's had it. So I really wanted to drop her off some presents as a, yay, you did it. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. You deserve to treat yourself, kind of thing. So I was actually at a cycling for cancer event in the weekend, which next time I'm staying home and just donating money from the bed, because I hate spinning. And I've done this for like 4 years in a row. And I think it's just time for me, much like with other types of running races for charity. I'll just give money. I don't want to have to do the physical part. Morton can do that. But while I was there were some fun fuck cancer hats. So I got her a cute little black hat that has a middle finger that says fuck cancer. And I've made this healing balm. I talked about it in a previous episode. So I'm going to deliver her a little bude. What is that in English? Jar, a little jar, healing ointment, because she has to have a little minor surgery. So it'll be really good for her scar. And then also, I went to the store yesterday to get supplies to make her. Originally, I wanted to make a really beautiful cake. So she was supposed to go to the south of France, Provence area, in the summer, and she loves France. Like it's one of her favorite places. But she, of course, couldn't go because she had to be near the hospital and do the chemo treatments. So I wanted to make her a French flavor Provence style cake, but also do the kitchen witchery part. So I chose flavors and ingredients that had certain intentions in them. And so I was gonna make her this really beautiful French cake, and I make these dried pineapple flowers, which I'll hopefully do another episode on. I wanna try to do this stuff more. And I was gonna put these beautiful pineapple flowers all over the cake and say, "It's time to bloom." And I thought like, "Oh, that's really beautiful." There was something in me that wanted to do something like humory because that's how our relationship is, and that's kind of how I express stuff to people like this. Um, but I was like, "Oh, it'll be really beautiful." So I went to the store. They literally had like none of the ingredients that I needed for this beautiful cake. They only really had the cake ingredients. And so I just got this feeling that the universe was like, that's not the kind of cake you should give her. That's not what she needs right now. She doesn't need a beautiful, like, she'll appreciate it. But then I had this idea of like, fuck cancer. That was the hat that I'm giving her. And I remembered that I had a dick pan. Because back when I used to have a cake business on the side, I made a lot of bachelorette party cakes. And you know what they want for bachelorette parties? A lot of penises. So I had a penis cake. Um, my daughter wanted to help me, by the way, which was hilarious because I told her it was a bone, which, ladies, gentlemen, others, it is. It can be a bone, right? We call it a bone sometimes. Um, anyway, I get so distracted. Didn't you miss this? Well, actually, you hopefully been listening, so I missed this. Anywho, so I was like, what if I made her this really nice French style cake, but it was a penis? Like that's kind of funny. And then I had this thought come in my head to write, it's long and hard because cancer is a dick. So I'm gonna write that on the cardboard here around the cake. And when as soon as I had that thought, I heard my guide say, humor is healing too. And I just kind of had this knowing that like that is what they want me to do with her, for her. She's had a really hard time. She doesn't need this like beautiful cake. That's not going to be the most healing thing for her. That what's going to be healing for her, especially in our relationship as we are, is to laugh. So I feel really good about this cake and we're going to do it together now. Let me roll up my sleeves. Maybe I should put a um apron on, but I'm not going to do that because I don't like to listen. All right. So the flavors of the cake are so again, it's French Provençal. I wanted to create a healing cake again, like something she's been really stressed. It's been really hard. I wanted to give her like an auslappende. I keep doing Danglish. Relaxing, a relaxing cake. So I made a chamomile almond flour cake with orange. And I used orange because citrus is like new beginnings. So now she's going to start a new chapter. Like now she goes through the actual like emotional healing. Now that she's been through the physical hard part, she needs to actually like come back and heal and bloom, like the original idea. But I wanted to include citrus. So I'm using orange in the mascarpone cream and I used orange in the cake. And then I created a kind of tea actually with the butter in the cake. I melted the butter and I put the chamomile flowers in there and I let them steep. And while they did that, not only did I put my intention of calm and healing and relaxation with the herbs, that's what I asked them to do with this cake, but I also said a little kind of spell over the butter, which I'll include when I put the recipe up if I can remember it. It always comes through very intuitively when I do spells, like it just kind of flows. So it might not be the exact thing. It'll be something similar. Um, so I baked this cake and then I'm gonna put a mascarpone, which I know is not technically French, but it is a mascarpone orange frosting on top. And then I'm going to put a little bit of they're called physalis. Um, in Danish, they're pineapple cherries, and I think they might be called stone cherries in English. I'll show you them in one second. And I'm just gonna do a really rustic, kind of swirly covering with this thick. So it's very easy to do. Also, like Jesus, if you ever eat at my house, there will be dog hair or cat hair in it. I try my best, but if you have animals, it's just nearly impossible. So it was supposed to be one 8-ounce package of mascarpone. Like I just used the whole package. I think it's 8 ounces. It's whatever that one small little flat package of mascarpone is, but let's say 8 ounces. And then I put in 2 cups of powdered sugar onto it. And then um, I zested about, I think, half an orange in there. Now, here's the fun thing. I meant to put vanilla in for comfort, but I didn't really look too closely when I grabbed the vanilla essence, and turns out that it was actually almond essence. So this one is going to be doubly almond, but I did balance it out by putting in a little bit of cream. So I hope that it tastes not too almondy, but maybe she likes that. So hopefully it has this very provincial French flavor to it. So even though she couldn't get to France in the summer, hopefully she can at least enjoy this taste of France. So that is what I'm doing with this cake. And while we do it, let's talk about what's been going on. So this is going to be coming out like probably a few weeks after I actually record it. So again, if you want the astrological updates of stuff, you're going to have to go follow Embodied Witchcraft because I can't really do it on these episodes anymore. Too far ahead, folks. I want to talk about first, before we get into feminine anger, some like interesting things that have been happening to me around how spirit kind of shows up in our lives and how to pay attention to that. Let me just wash my hands. If you touch your nose, you wash your hands. That's the rules of the kitchen. I just made a song up. You can sing that for your kids if you want. So, um, Spirit has been doing some really interesting things in my life and showing up for me in certain ways. And, I talk about a lot how you need to give yourself time to rest and recharge and be able to open up and listen. And so I wanted to really give an example of how it works when you do that. So I will tell you one fun story. In the summer, when I quit my job, I decided I wanted to just have fun with life. Like I had taken life so seriously. I was always trying to win at life, right? I'm sure you can relate to that. And so I had just taken it so seriously and I forgot that life is meant to be fun. And so I decided I'm going to rack up as many fun experiences as I can while I can. And what I did was I decided to sign up to a few different like fun activities. And one of those fun activities was a friend of mine who does marketing for a big company here. She was like, because you're used to doing the acting thing with your past job where you did some on screen stuff, you could sign up to be an extra because like that's where we get all our extras from is from this site. And you get like, usually you get paid and you can kind of go and have fun. And it's just a couple hours. And, sometimes you meet new people, or a lot of times like you get free food, and I love free food. So I was like sold. So I signed up, and I signed up back in the summer, and I never heard anything. I've applied to a few of the options. I've never gotten called or anything. But again, no expectations. It's just something fun. I don't have any like burning need to do it. So the other week, last week, I get a call from a casting agent. And she says, like, hey, I have a job that it's actually like really urgent. We need it already next week. Would you be interested? And I'm like, okay. And she says, it's unpaid. Now, old Jess would have been like, no, I don't take unpaid jobs. That's not worth it. But new Jess is like, well, tell me about the job. And if it sounds fun, I'd be happy to. As you can see, we are done with the top layer. It's very rustic. It's just, and I don't want to put too much on because then it's going to overpower. The cake itself is pretty dense, so I'm not going to go crazy with it. And before I start talking again, these are the physalis. They have like this beautiful little husk around them, and then they're so cute. You just like open them up a little bit, and there's this little guy in there, and they're delicious. They're very tart and sweet. They're just lovely. So I'm just going to sit here and kind of decorate while we talk. So I asked her, I was like, all right, well, tell me more about the job. And if it sounds interesting, then I'll be interested in doing it. Actually, I'm going to put this in the box first now that it's iced. So she told me about the job, and she basically said, all right, we're filming an HBO documentary about the biker gang wars in Denmark in the 90s. So I immediately was like, Sons of Anarchy, that sounds amazing. So I was like, tell me more. And she said, we need some biker, like groupie women to be at a bar dancing where this fight breaks out. And these guys get in a fight from these two different gangs, Banditos and Hells Angels. So I was like, okay, well, I can't run in heels very well. I didn't say that because you have to remember, just lie your way into success, right? Everybody else does it. So I was like, okay. And she said, yes, there are going to be a few women and you're just dancing and then it breaks out and you run. It's just a couple hours. And so I was like, you know what? It's fine. And so, oh, sorry. Then I was like, where is it? And she tells me, I was like, that is 5 minutes from where I live. So totally, I'll be there. So I had no clue what to expect or anything. I get dressed up as like a what I thought was like a 90s dance person at a club. And I show up. And what I found out when I show up is that first of all, hilariously fun. It was like a bunch of guys who looked like Sons of Anarchy biker type dudes. They were all extremely nice people, as you would expect. It was this like crazy, crappy looking brown bodega place down the street. And I meet this woman. So it turns out that the other two dancers couldn't make it, bailed. So we were supposed to be four, and we're only two. So, and we're also only two women on a set of like 20 guys, which as a female, I was like, danger, danger. But again, they were really nice. And everyone on the crew was very nice. So we start talking, and we just start off with like the normal conversational stuff. Very quickly, we start talking about something that she does on the side of the work that she does, which is she volunteers at a women's shelter for women who are in abusive relationships or have had sexual assaults or other type of violent activities happen to them. And excuse me if I keep stuttering or something here. We had the whole conversation in Danish, so now my mind has to like redo it in English. Um, so as soon as she said that, and if you're connected to your guides and you're connected to your intuition, you will know exactly what I'm talking about when I say this. But when she started talking, the one side of my body lit up like a Christmas light. And I immediately listened closer when she got to this part because I knew this is something that you need to do. This is something that you need to listen to. So she starts telling me about all the work that she does with these women and what they've been through and all this other stuff. Now, I have always, and my body is doing it again, lighting up like a Christmas light while I talk about this. I have always felt a very strong, yeah, I know. Sorry, my guides are excited. They're excited that I'm listening because I don't always. Um, I have always thought that I wanted to make a lot of money doing what I do in an ethical way, but I want to make a lot of money, especially from people who can afford. I want to have some sort of situation where people who can afford will end up paying more like a sliding scale because what I want to do is use some of that money and my ability to work less by earning more so that I can do things like volunteer to do somatic therapy and breath work and nervous system regulation at women's shelters or for people who have been victims. So when she started talking, I asked her if they ever thought about having volunteers come to teach somatic yoga, teach them breath work, teach them how to release the emotions and the trauma and work on breathing. Now, I'm not a psychotherapist, I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not going to work with them to actually integrate and understand and process the trauma that's happened to them, but just they're already having that in these centers. They have the state psychiatrists. So I just want to do some somatic yoga with them and give them a chance to relax and start to feel safe in their bodies again. And when I mentioned this to her, she also lit up and she was like, that would be amazing. I've been trying to find something like this for them. We have a place with yoga mats, we have these things, but we don't have anybody to teach. And the more we kept talking, the more we realized that we're both extremely spiritual people. So the whole point of telling you this story, and now we're in contact to this location is quite far away. And so that's why most people in Copenhagen that are teachers can't really go out there because they don't have a car and there's no transportation. I have a car. I have the means to help, right? This is exactly why you have to be so in tuned and so aware and follow your joy. Because I always talk about like when you follow the things that light you up, the things that make you happy, that's when you're able to connect to these opportunities and things. That's when you'll see them. That's when they'll come in. This opportunity would never have come in if I had said no because it was unpaid. Or if I had been too scared and like, I don't know, I've never done this before, it's different, blah, blah, blah. Like this opportunity aligned because I allowed it to, because I listened to my intuition, because I listened to my guides. And even she said that like this was her very first job too. So she basically had only signed up because her daughter wanted to sign up. And she was like, well, let me check out this site first. So she signed up the day after she signed up, which was right before this woman called her. The woman called her. Um, And then she was really scared and she had been out the weekend before and was like, I don't know if I want to go. But she decided to take a chance on it and just see what it was about. And that's how this aligned. So it is so incredibly important that you listen to your intuition, that you connect to your intuition, that you let yourself be still so you can hear it, and that you don't let fear stop you. Okay, now I'm going to put the fist list on. We're going to talk about sacred anger. Okay, so raise your hand if you are a woman who has been told that people don't like angry women, or you've been tone policed, or whenever you feel angry, you've been conditioned that you have to shove it down and not be angry. I think we've all been there. I mean, I think a lot of people, female or not, have been told this kind of messaging because of a lot of different reasons. But I'm going to focus on women because that's where I work mainly with. That's where I think we really need to own our anger. Men need to tone down the anger in a lot of cases. Um, but we've really been told as women that being angry is unattractive. Who's ever heard like men don't like it when you get angry? Please F off with that. Nobody cares. Nobody should care what men think about them. That's the least of our issues. Mm. Um, and so the reality is that anger, like any other emotion, is not negative. It's all valid, all emotions are valid, not all expressions are. So you're allowed to feel things. You're allowed to feel whatever comes up. That's just information from yourself about something that you don't feel good about or something you do feel good about. But just because you're angry does not mean that you get to spew that all over people. But when you use anger as a catalyst, as an alchemist to direct you, to give you a goal, anger is one of the most powerful energetic emotions. Like an angry woman with a target in sight is the most that lady will build a village in half a day, and I'm sure we've all seen this in our communities, especially Black women have historically and continue to be some of the most amazing examples of how organized, motivated, results, like the ways that they get things done in their community when they're angry is exactly the example of how we should all be using our anger as fuel. Because when we get angry about something, unlike most, unlike men who historically have been outwardly angry, women shove it down, right? We don't tend to express the emotion. Now, like I said, there is a time and place to express anger outwardly, and you're allowed to feel it and you're allowed to express it, but how you express it is the kind of key there. I will say from a somatic perspective, when it comes to any emotion, really, you kind of don't, we say you don't want to react from the wound, you want to react from the scar. So whenever you have this big angry feeling come up, it's probably pointing to somewhere where you're being suppressed, where you're being oppressed, where you can see injustices happening, where you see people treating other people in a way that just doesn't sit right with you, or when you see change that needs to be done and no one's doing anything about it. Those are all extremely powerful, angry emotions to feel. The most important thing is that you embrace the emotion, you let yourself feel it, but instead of like yelling it out at people, try sitting with it and seeing how it starts to come together in terms of action, depending on the anger, right? Like if somebody is mistreating you, you don't want to pop off at them like right away because you want to be able to, in most cases, again, if this is a violent situation or an abusive situation, get yourself out of there. That's the most important thing. I'm talking more about like in your everyday life. Like if you're sitting there looking at your phone and you see some post from somebody that makes you angry, instead of running to the comment section to leave a comment, or instead of firing back that email, or if you're on the phone with somebody, like yelling back at them, let yourself sit with the anger. Actually, let yourself feel it, because also a lot of times anger is a mask. So a lot of time anger shows up to also point to us where we're feeling very hurt by something, where we're feeling very emotionally vulnerable by something. So if you're having a disagreement with somebody, or someone's saying something to you that makes you feel bad, you definitely want to address it, but you want to address it from a grounded place of where is this actually coming from and what is the actual thing that's making me angry? Because a lot of times you'll find out that it's a trigger, or it's that you feel unheard, you feel unseen, you feel disregarded, you feel not valued, and that makes you feel angry. But at the base of that, the root of that emotion is hurt. So, from a somatic perspective, make sure that you're able to identify kind of how this anger is showing up in your body. And then let's say that you see a post about, like right now, there's a lot going on in the world and there's a lot going on with politics. Let's say you see a post about children in Sudan or the Congo who are starving and the world's not doing anything about it. There's people, even also just people. I mean, like we focus a lot on children and I get it because children are innocent and we want to protect them at all costs. That is mostly a collective universal thing. But I don't think we should, I think there's a problem with the fact that we don't focus on the people. So when you see a lot of charity organization stuff, it's always children because it pulls at the heartstrings. It's easier to get donations with children. I get it. But while we're here talking as a person, imagine it's your friend. Imagine it's another person. Even when you grow into adulthood, you still deserve help. You still deserve charity. And we have to remember that we're not just focusing on kids in the world who are being mistreated, who are going hungry, who are starving, who are sick. There's also adults and elderly who need our help, right? So maybe you see some sort of post about what's going on in Sudan right now, and you just get absolutely livid because no one's talking about it. No one's doing anything about it. Instead of just yelling out this anger to everyone around you of, you know, this is horrible. How come we're not talking about this? Our governments need to be doing something. My tax dollars are going and funding more genocide. Those are all valid thoughts. But don't just express it and let it out completely and then move on because A, you're probably still harboring pain and anger because you feel connected to another person, but use that anger. This is why I wanted to talk about feminine anger. We've been sold that it's bad because the people who told us it's bad, the patriarchy men, it's because they know what we can do with it. They know that we can mobilize revolutionary actions, that we can build communities, that we can unite people, that we can make serious change when women are angry. Not only within ourselves, like if you want to think on a personal level, think about sometimes somebody told you you couldn't do something and you're like, well, now I'm going to fucking do it and I'm going to do it really fucking well. And then you did. It's because you were angry. It was because you had this drive, this power. Emotions like shame and guilt, those are like, they're like, since we're working on a penis, they're like the flaccid penis of emotions. You can't do anything with those. They just stick with you. Ugh. No, I don't like that analogy. Move on. Like they're just gonna continue to hang. Oh no. I've put myself in a hole here. Oh, hold on. I need a break. It's gone. I can't. This has got to be. Is this? Okay. Let's rewind. I'm not gonna cut this out because I'm trying not to erase expressions, and I have a feeling that my guides have a very heavy hand in this. Um, but let's go back. Guilt and shame don't have a lot of drive behind them. They live in the deep recesses of your body and they hold you back. They're like these stone blocks around your feet inside of you, holding you back and keeping you from following your dreams. So shame and guilt, there's not a lot of emotion. There's not a lot of drive behind them besides things keeping you back. But anger has like it's fire. It's it's this drive, it's Mars, it's passion, it's like, you know what I mean? It doesn't have to be a negative. Can it be a negative? Absolutely. There are ways to express your anger which are unhelpful, unnecessary. And again, often when you're operating from the wound and not understanding where it's coming from, that's when you see this expressed anger that's destructive. That's when you see the fire that burns the house down versus the fire that lights the bonfire, if you will. But anger is just such a crazy, incredibly potent emotion to feel. And I honestly feel like we as women are not allowing ourselves to live in that anger because it's not feminine or men don't like it or people are going to get angry with me. We have to move past that because I know so many women like myself that are just not happy. We're not happy with the state of the world. We're not happy with how things are going. We feel angry. It's not even that we're not happy. We're dissatisfied and angry about the ways we have to keep ourselves small, the ways we have to shove ourselves down, the ways we're told we can express ourselves, and the way that the world is being run by men who are using their emotional wounds, their anger, their little emotionally repressed, stunted little boy inside of them to treat world politics and the world stage like it's some, Catan board game for when they were 10 and somebody stole their land. Like, none of this is okay. And I know we all feel it, but we're just afraid to express it. And I get that. But I think the one thing I've learned as I start to express myself more, and I hope this will be helpful to some of you as well, is the things that we're often fearing are going to happen when we express our authentic voice and express our anger is very unlikely. Like, when you do it, you realize, oh, nobody came with pitchforks. There's no flaming bags of poop on my front lawn. Like, those things that we're worried about, there's no witch hunt happening. I mean, the witch hunts now are different, it happens online, right? Um, but also like these little, ridiculously stupid little men, you know, call them out. Like, I love the accounts where there's women screenshotting pictures and names of men who are leaving absolutely vile comments. But then when you go to the comment section, sometimes they're like, it's not very nice of you to blast him on here or to put his name in his picture. Bro, he did that to himself when he came up on her page and said that vile, disgusting shit with his whole body because his face, his name, they're on there. He could have created a fake profile, but he didn't. He created his actual profile and decided to be an absolute dick. And that's what you get. You know, we need to hold men accountable and call them out for their shit. And I will cry that through the earth of my grave. No, what am I talking about? I'm not being buried. That's gross. I'm going to be cremated and sprinkled under a tree or something. Actually, I'd like to be turned into a tree. Isn't that a thing now? Can't we do that? All right. So I have a sufficiently hairy looking dick cake. If you can see this, that was not my intention. It's just kind of how it's happening. We're just adding to the humor. I feel like so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to strategically place a few of my chamomile flowers on here, but not a whole lot because they're not like the most nice thing to put in your mouth when they're dry. Like, there's nothing I can say right now that doesn't sound dirty to my ears because of what I'm doing. Maybe it's better for people who aren't watching, but I don't think so. So I'm just going to place a few of these in some of the like barren areas and continue talking about this. So I really would love if we as women could embrace being angry and understanding how amazing it is. Because also, like, if we put aside all the collective benefits of what female anger can do and bring to the world, and you actually consider looking at what it does for you, you will be shocked at how good you feel when you allow yourself to process an anger emotion and release it versus keeping it in your body. You should definitely try it. Let me give you some practical tips to start off with because expressing your anger it's pretty scary, honestly, especially if for some of us who've been told not to express it. And if you're expressing it publicly, that can be scary. So let's do like a baby step thing. When you start to feel anger, like if you see something or you hear something and it makes you angry, instead of feeling it and then shoving it down and just trying to ignore it, allow yourself to sit with it. Actually imagine pulling that anger up because usually your anger is like, everybody can feel it differently. When it's feigned anger, so when it's like conditioned anger or fake anger, it's in your head. That's how I look at it anyway. If you actually just see something and you're like, "Oh, I'm angry about this." If you're able to feel into your body, do you feel the anger in your body? Are you actually angry about this or is it in your head? If it's in your head, a lot of the times it's just this conditioned feigned anger that you think you need to feel. But if you feel it in your body, what I like to do is I sit with it and I allow it to like kind of burn. I just sit with it. I just feel it. What does it feel like? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it really acute? Or is it kind of a low smoldering? Is it my belly? Does it have to do with my inner child or my sense of safety, right? A lot of times anger has to do with because you fear your safety. There's a sense of safety that you're missing. So you can feel into that. And then once it's kind of mellowed a little bit, I like to pull my attention to my heart space and invite my anger to meet me there. And I know this sounds really woo woo, but just try it. And I think you'll find that, especially if you're already able to connect with your emotions, that it's really helpful. So I like to invite it up and I feel it. And I ask what's going on. And I invite whatever comes through and I sit with that. And these are the ways that you can start to understand what's actually going on behind the anger. And let's say, for example, that you invite the anger up and you find out that when you were younger, you remember a few instances where your mom forgot your lunch and you were so starving and no one would give you any of their lunch. And you went the whole school day crying and weak and sad because you didn't have lunch that day. And so now you're seeing these kids going hungry. And what's really going on in your body is yes, you know that you know in your head that this is not right, but you also feel it in your heart. You remember what it was like to go hungry for just one day. And there's a part of you that feels so angry that any children are going hungry, right? Then use that feeling, that anger, to do something about it. Because anger without action is a waste. The whole point of feeling those angry emotions is to catalyze change, to do something. Again, if we think of Mars, Mars is anger, aggression, passion, but it's also drive. It's also the go, 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 the do something, like I need to change something. It's meant to be that duality. There's always a duality inside of us of like the highest expression of something and the negative expression of something, right? You're meant to find that balance and that duality. So you're not just meant to feel the anger and sit with it and hold on to it and continue to build up resentment around things. You're meant to feel the anger and then catalyze that, alchemize it, transmute it, whatever word you want to use, into doing something, into drive, right? So if you feel that way, then start donating money to many organizations all over the world that are helping to feed children in other countries. Or if you want to work, if your community has a lot of poverty and children going without food, especially if you're in the States, I don't know if SNAP benefits have been given out again by this time this comes out, but you can work in your communities, do whatever feels best for you in that moment. But also, please don't forget that we tend to in some countries, we tend to close our eyes to what's going on outside of it for a lot of different reasons. It's not usually because you're a bad person, but there are countries and places outside of where you're living where they need acute help, where it's not just that children are hungry sometimes or don't have really good, healthy food. It's that they don't have any food. They don't have any water and they're going weeks and weeks without medical care, without food, without water. So please consider doing kind of both. Do something in your community and also something for the global stage, for people outside of your community. I would think that would be great. So yeah, feminine anger is amazing. It is divine. Let yourself feel it. That's kind of the first. Let me grate this while I'm talking. So that would kind of be the first step is just to identify what's going on in your body when you feel anger, allow yourself to feel it, and then act on it. Don't just sit with it. So the other thing, once you've kind of done that, is you want to be able to get the anger out of your body. So we talked about doing something where you're driving, where you're having a passion, right? If it's a personal anger, so let's say that someone does something to you personally and you're really angry about it, um, once you let yourself feel it and feel where the anger is coming through and understand it, if you aren't able to talk to the person, or maybe it's something that happened in the past and you don't want to talk to this person, it's not going to make anything better. If you can't do anything with that anger, that emotion, that drive, you still have to release it. Now, there's a lot of different ways that you can release it. So you can do a lot of different things, and it probably will depend on who you are as a person. But let's say, for example, that you need to get it out of your body in a physical way. If you don't have a forest to go scream in, you could use a pillow if you want to scream. You could yell into a pillow. You could put on like Alanis Morissette Ought to Know. Like that's a great angry song. You could go sing your heart out just in your house or your car, just body, body rocking, scream it out, bellow it out, like let it out. Again, anger has so much drive behind it. So you're going to have to really let it out. Like, don't try to be timid with it. Anger doesn't want to be timid. Anger wants to be loud, wants to be fiery. So do that. Another thing you could do is art. You could do art, but the thing I like to do when I have anger with art is I don't like to take my paintbrushes and do nice measured strokes. I mean, if that's for you, it's for you. But again, try using your hands and letting your body express on the canvas or express with whatever art medium you're using through your body, because you want to get it out, with your body. You can also put, head banging music on or angry music and just kind of mosh pit in your house or whatever. Those are all ways that you can express anger. You can, of course, journal it. But again, if you're gonna journal, you gotta make it angry journaling. It can't be like a journal prompt and then you like sit there and very composed write it out. Like I'm talking, you know, Regina George is a skanky hoe or whatever she wrote. Like get angry with it. Let that anger out. You have to stop capping your anger and trying to control it. That's the whole point of what I'm gonna say. Sip time. All right. I need to quickly write on my penis. Not on my penis, sorry. I need to write on the box. So let me just take a quickie break to do that. How am I going to do this? Let me see. Do, do, do. Can I move this? No. Okay. Can I do it upside down? Yeah. Yay, I did it. Well, I need one more word. Oh my God, I love it. Let me see if I can show what I did here. I'm just going to turn the, okay. I don't want to like knock it upside down or mess it up or anything, but like, can you see it? Let me see. Yeah. All right. You're going to have to take my word for it. Let's see. Maybe I can do this. All right, let's try lifting this up. There. Isn't that cute? I think it's cute. I think she's going to enjoy it. And it's cute because what do we always say? It's the thought and the intention that counts. So I'm going to close this box and then I'm going to put the lid on and put it in the fridge for a hot minute so that the icing can cool. Oh God, no. Did I put it in the bottom half? Is there a bottom half and a top half? There might be. I did it. Yay, go me. Okay, I'm gonna quickly do her healing ointment and then you and I are gonna do some cards. I brought my cards down. All right, so if you remember, I'll sit down. No, I won't. I'll turn this. There I go. Hey, oh, no, can't get the bun. Et voila. Okay. I made this, I talked about this healing balm in an episode. But it is calendula and yarrow and horsetail and a bunch of really good fortifying, protecting, and healing herbs. So I gave her some of the actual oil back in, I want to say May. I gave her some of this healing oil. Maybe it was June. But since then, I have actually been able to, it infused long enough that I was able to make it into this salve balm. Oh God, yeah, remember? Because that episode I kept having problems saying salve. But what I do is I always save my little jars from any cosmetics or foods or whatever that I use that are empty. And then I recycle them by putting my own stuff in there so that I don't waste it and I don't have to buy other stuff. So this is a Kiehl's one. And I'm going to give her that so she can use it. And hopefully she enjoys it. Now, you know what? I will rub this oil on my own hands because delicious. All right. All right, kitties. Today I brought with me my tarot cards. I normally do oracle cards when I do readings at the end of these things, but lately I have been working a lot with my tarot and I'm liking her. So we're going to do tarot and I do intuitive tarot readings. So I'm not going to pull, I might end up pulling from some of the meanings of the tarot. Kind of depends on what's coming through, but I will ask my guides to join me here to give us a card. Ooh, King of Cups. See, as soon as I said my guides, they showed up. Thanks, y'all. All right, let's see what I'm getting about this one. You know what? It's perfect. It's perfect, as always. King of Cups is in control of their emotions. They rule with their emotions. You can see he has this cup in his hand and he has the scepter in the other, and he's sitting on a throne of water. Water represents emotions for me. I think for a lot of people, emotions are like water, they flow. The difference, I think, is that what we're talking about is being in control of your anger and using it to make change. So, why would we not get the King of Cups? Because that is what this card really is about. And I actually feel like it is also very aligned with the meaning. There's also a little fishy in the background. So, I'm wondering if this also has something to do with all the stuff going on in Pisces at the moment astrologically. But we'll see. So I think the main messages I'm getting through here are just so much about being in charge of your emotions, not being ruled by your emotions, but having a control and a rule over them. And through doing that, you can be this king of your environment. You can make change. The king takes care of other people. The king rules in a balanced, good way, which I don't think we've ever actually seen through history, but let's think of a fairy tale. The king is the ultimate provider. He's the ultimate nurturer and caretaker of his kingdom. He's the one who's in charge, right? So, with everything I've been talking about, emotions and taking care of everybody and using it for actual change and driving that, I think it's perfect that this card came out today. So, there's not a whole lot more coming through. Let me just give it like a minute and see. Yeah, okay. His feet are on the ground, right? He's grounded. That's another important thing. When you allow yourself to feel the anger, understand where it's coming from, and then work with that drive, or if it's a conversation with somebody that's not like that's wronged you or that you feel like you had an anger situation with, you want to go in grounded to the situation. You don't want to go in again like completely out there just reacting. You do it in a measured way. You make sure that you are taking steps and saying things that are for the best, right? That are not going to harm others. They're for the best of the kingdom, is what I'm hearing. So make sure that you wear your emotions. You don't try to suppress them. Let other people see your emotions. Look at his blue outfit. He is wearing his emotions, and it's not his cloak. He's not wearing them as protection, but he's wearing them. Everyone can see them. He lets everybody see the emotions that he has. But he also has this red cape, this yellow cape, all this royal things, right? So he's ruling by being transparent, by showing his emotions, by showing who he is and what's going on in his inner world on the outside, but from a very grounded perspective. So yeah, I think that's a really beautiful message. Big ups. That definitely makes me forgive you for all of the earlier penis innuendo that they put me through. They thought that was pretty funny. I hope you did too, and that you're not offended by all of this stuff. So if you're below a certain age and you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you stopped watching. And if you didn't, have respect for other people's bodies. Okay, that concludes today's episode, which I hoped was shorter, but maybe I'm going to end up cutting out a lot of these breaks. So please make sure to like, follow, share, and listen again to the podcast. I really appreciate all of the shares. As always, please follow me on Embodied Witchcraft on Instagram. It's also Embodied Witchcraft on TikTok now. And I'll be posting so much yummy content on there. It has a different aesthetic than just Solstice too. I'm actually leaning into my dreamy creative side a bit more, and I'm allowing myself to rest in that and not try to push it too hard, which was what was leading me to scatteredness. So on that note, I hope you have a lovely week. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And remember, anger is sacred. Go feel angry in a good way, right? Okay, bye. Love you.